Hello.
Ha ha ha
How
ha!
are you?
Oh my God, man. I can't believe it's you. I love you. You
I'm
are
just glad to be here,
happy
really.
birthday.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It was happy too. It was really happy.
74?
Yep, yep,
God,
yep. I
God
mean, I,
bless you.
I, I never thought I'd be around for this. Yep.
I'll tell you what, first of all, I think you are hands down the greatest bass player of all time.
Whoa. Oh,
Aw.
wow.
There's just
That,
no question about it. No question.
wow, wow, man. Well, I'm just glad to have people like you out there that has been following the vibe, the funk. We always say keep the funk alive. Well, you're part of all of that. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, I grew up in San Francisco, and thank God I did because it was a
Yeah,
melting pot of race, sexuality,
yeah,
religion, and music.
yeah.
And you'd go from P-Funk to Metallica to Grateful Dead to Journey. It was all
Yeah.
swirling around out
All
there.
there, all there, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And the great Bill Graham was one of the reasons of that, you know?
Right, right, right. Well, those times they would never understand now, but thank God we was around to go through that,
Let
you
me
know.
tell you, I there was a period for about 2 years
Yeah.
that I listened to Love, Power, Peace
Mm.
nonstop. To me, this is the
Wow.
greatest live album of all time.
Wow, man. Yeah, I've heard something, a lot of things about that album, and we had no idea what was going on at that time. You know, I mean, we was just so blown away from just traveling the world with the Godfather of Soul. So we had no idea at all what was happening.
It's crazy to think about that record because it's in Paris
Yeah,
and it is a masterpiece of just funk. And,
yeah, yeah,
James has many live albums out, but
yeah.
that JB's lineup is so insane. And ain't it funky now? The way that you are driving
Uh,
that song is
yeah.
unreal.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that helped us as a band was not thinking so much, just playing what you felt, and getting it out and making sure the Godfather was happy. That was my main goal. You know, and whenever you can get a little smile out of him, a little bit, you know, you knew that, yeah, yeah, we was on it. So that was good times.
Oh, obsessed with the record. And then on the documentary, it was just amazing to watch that era. And I still love when he would find band members up there and the way he would do it, because I played music for years and I always thought about it on stage when someone would make a mistake in the band. I got you.
Right,
I got you two
right,
times. He's telling you the fine on
right.
stage.
On stage, and the audience is clueless. They have no idea.
Unreal.
Yeah, yeah. He was pretty amazing, man. I
Another
mean,
thing I love on that record is it took me a long time to figure out what he was saying. And I used to talk about it all the time, but he's saying some organ, meaning
right,
B3. But he's
right,
like, some organ,
right,
some
right.
organ, some
Hogan,
organ. And
Hogan.
I never knew what he was saying. And then the B3 comes on, the solo. And then finally one day I go, oh, he's saying some organ.
Right. That's the way he says it.
God,
It was
man.
amazing. It
That
was
must have been
amazing.
mind-boggling.
Yeah,
I mean, I could talk to you for months. This episode will, no matter how long we go, will be way too short. Rock
yeah,
and Roll Hall of Fame, of course, well deserved. After this, shortly after the live record in that era, you go and Parliament starts happening.
Right,
Now,
right.
I grew up in San Francisco in the Bay Area and absolutely obsessed. And a thing that really taught me about rock and roll was these Day on the Greens. Now, you're the only person I've ever had on the show that played the funk on the green, and no
Yeah.
one talks about this. Let's talk about that day. You remember it?
Uh, if I can remember it, I probably wasn't there.
No, I'll tell you what it was. It's 1979. It was at the Oakland A's Stadium outdoor
uh,
show. Here's the lineup:
I remember.
Parliament, Bootsy,
Yeah,
Rubber Band,
yeah,
Sister Sledge,
yeah.
Confunction.
Wow. I do remember that much. I remember that much. Yes. That was also a place where that was the gig that I don't know if you remember or if you saw the very first
Spaceship.
thing. No, that was after my set.
Right.
This was like I had a brick wall. Well, it's supposed to have been a brick wall, and I came busting through it, and didn't know. I don't think nobody knew that I almost fell off the stage. I played it off. I played it off because the stage was like I forget how tall it was, but it was up there, and if I had fell off of it, I would have been a goner. you know. But I never forget that place, man. I never forget that gig.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, these things, these Dan the Greens were insane because,
Yeah.
they would be these amazing Dennis Larkin script, scrims that he
Yeah.
painted.
Yes. Yeah.
And each one was set up like a Broadway play. Led
Right.
Zeppelin had like the, Stonehenge, and
Yeah. Yeah.
there was always a theme, but it was just amazing that I wish that they filmed this. I think they do have footage, but to put a documentary out on that, because that's really a full-on
Right.
funk
Right.
festival of
Yeah.
what was 70s funk.
Yes. Yes. I'm glad you said that because it's like I don't even have any evidence of that. I mean that gig. And I would think somebody's got it.
Oh yeah.
I just have never followed through on that, you
Oh,
know.
oh,
But
absolutely.
I'm glad you mentioned it. Now I might have to follow through on that. For real.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, if you Google and look at the photos,
Yeah,
they're mind-boggling. It's daytime,
yeah,
and you're out there and it's just, 60,000 people in the Oakland A's stadium.
yes, yes. That was the bomb, man. That was the bomb. Wow. Yeah, I never will forget that.
Now, do you think that was the biggest show you ever played, or what?
Wow. The biggest thing I ever played. I think the LA Coliseum was probably the biggest at that time
Right.
because we had like 110,000 people at that show, and I don't know how many thousands trying to get in, you know. And that was probably at that particular time, 1979. That was probably the biggest one we had on that run. You know, and it was crazy. It was Rick James, Parliament-Funkadelic, Bootsy, Brides, Chaka Khan, Brothers Johnson. I
Wow.
mean, it was huge. It was huge. Complete sellout. Isley Brothers.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it was a big deal. But they didn't show up because they didn't want to go all night before me or after. So yeah, they didn't show.
That's hilarious. The biggest gig of their career, and they don't show up.
Yeah, sure. It was headline news the next morning. Yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty deep, man. All we came to do was just the phone,
Yeah.
and see everybody else. But yeah, it was deep. It was deep.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's the 70s, and not to sound like an old man or whatever, because I'm definitely a huge hip hop guy. I was in there
Yeah, yeah.
ground floor of hip hop in the, you know, early 80s, 79 or whatever. I'm at a boys club camp. Somebody turns me on to Kraftwerk, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and
Wow.
and and kids are like pop locking to We
Yeah,
Are the Robots. And then here comes Rapper's Delight and
right.
all of this stuff. But what's really amazing to me, and rest in peace, D'Angelo,
Yeah, yeah,
meaning that was an era where, R&B and soul, say in Earth, Wind and Fire, a
yeah,
Parliament,
yeah,
these guys played instruments,
yes,
and it is insane. I always tell people, when you're listening to P-Funk, when you're listening to Earth, Wind and Fire, you got
yeah,
to understand those guys are playing that. It's Steely Dan level, but
yeah,
funky, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
those are humans playing those instruments
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Total difference. I mean, total,
at
you
the
know,
highest level.
yeah, yeah. I was just talking about to some lady about what's happening now,
Right.
what's going on right now, and they're getting ready to turn any person that wants to be a musician or artist, they're going to be able to do it. You know, musicians and artists won't be like special to us no more. You know, as it continues to evolve, it's going to turn into all my next door neighbors are, you know, to them superstars. You know?
It's really crazy, Bootsy. It
Yes,
really is
yes,
because, but really in particular, that era of the 70s, the amount of unreal songwriting and musicianship, everybody sang,
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
played their instrument.
yes, yes, yes. What was good for us too was the turn of the end of the 60s into the 70s was, before this, right before the 70s, bands were wanting to branch out and just be bands that sung and, as instead of just playing behind singers, so that was a big change right there too, going into the 70s, and so I think, the lesson here is to always be ready for that change because every era there's a change, no matter how big or small, you can expect some kind of musical shift, you know. And so I tried to get used to that early on, and I think I made it through it,
Oh yeah.
because it was when the sampling thing came out, all of us musicians and artists got real scared because we was losing our gigs. Sampling is taking over, and they're not using our music anymore, and but prayerfully we made it through because we was embracing that, you know, because I felt like, here's the young kids embracing our music and they had no idea about us.
Right.
They're introducing us to a whole new audience. And to me, that was so cool, you
Yeah.
know. And it worked out really good because, we all became kind of buds and friends, even though we were of different music genres and um, eras. You
Yeah.
know, we were able to embrace each other, man. And, usually that's a hard thing to do, but we made it through it.
Yeah, at no way am I ever a get off my lawn old dude type of thing, because of
Yeah,
course the genius of sampling was turning people on to these amazing things of
Yeah,
like, we got the funk and then stuff like Delight happens with Groove is in Your Heart because
right.
people are cross-pollinating like, oh my God, these guys are amazing. Let's
Yeah,
grab them and we'll collaborate. My main thing though is just the loss of importance of instruments. And
yeah,
because the main thing, of course, you can go in the studio and they're going to have AI or any of that junk. But what
right.
I'm talking
Right.
about, there's nothing better than guys in a studio and the chemistry
With
of
the music.
yeah, and watching
Yeah.
these songs evolve.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that was a privilege that we had. That's like the dinosaurs are like fading, it's fading away. But thank God there are some of the young kids that are adapting instruments, you
Right?
know, because for a time there, kids was definitely not,
No, not at
so,
all.
so it's a good thing that we still have the kids' attention, some of the kids' attention, and they're picking the instruments up and killing it,
Oh
you
yeah.
know.
I see
Great.
it on Instagram every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, a lot of it is, not going the way we kind of came up, but we still got some saving grace in there, with the kids. So I'm proud about that.
Who was the genius that signed Parliament? The reason I'm calling him a genius is it was such a world of record business.
Right.
And you
Right.
see it with anybody that got the deals. Where is the hit? Where is the single?
Yeah.
Now, and then there's certain people, say a Dylan, say a Grateful Dead, say
Hmm.
uh, Frank Zappa,
Yeah. Yeah.
Parliament, where somebody would be like, "We don't care what the single is. This is just cool." How did
Yeah.
that go down? Was it like somebody like way in your corner?
Neil Bogart was the cat.
Oh yeah.
He was the cat. He hit it off with George, and it wasn't a whole lot of explaining. He came to the show and actually saw the show, and it was like, you know, he didn't even care what was happening. It was like, I gotta have this. And at that time, he had signed Kiss.
Oh yep.
And so we were all on that same label, and
Casablanca.
and he knew how to promote the bands, and yeah, so yeah, that was one of the best hookups we could ever have hoped for, you know.
Well,
Yeah,
the genius of that guy was he would have kind of a Ringling Brothers circus level of live
yeah,
promotions and shows,
yeah,
but then the bands were amazing. Now, if you like Kiss or you don't like Kiss, it's
right.
undeniable. The songs and the work ethic and the stage show, and that spills into Parliament. So once you guys are rolling with him, and you take this live show out with the spaceship and everything,
Yeah.
what like who comes up and builds all that stuff?
Oh man, George had contacted these guys that was doing stuff for the movie sets. I forget is the name, but they were really big in the movie business thing, and it cost somewhere around $250,000 to create that stage, and George took everybody's money and bought it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but George was really the creative, source on that one completely. He pulled it off. He just happened to get with the right dude at Casablanca, which was Neil Bogart. And they talked about it. It didn't take too much talking, but it was about following up and making it happen. getting the people, finding the people that will do it right, that will do it justice. And they did that, together they did it, yeah, it was a one of a kind type thing. And they pulled it off.
I'll tell you what, it's absolutely a head exploder.
Yeah.
And if people have not seen this, go to YouTube and see this stage. How many dates did you do with the stage? And how many times did you have like a spinal tap thing where it wasn't working or,
Well, we started the mothership tour. I think it was in 78,
Right.
78, the end of 77 going into 78, on up through 79, and I think the 80s, you know. And then after that, they kind of, put the ship, well, George called it in the pawn shop. So, so we kind of, we put it in the pawn shop, and then he couldn't get it out, So we had to, come up with something else, and came up with the underwater boogie.
Oh.
That's where we went. We all went underwater after that. You know. So yeah, yeah. He was full of concepts. So I would have to say he was the genius on this side of it. Definitely.
Well, I think that half of hip hop is
Yeah.
either James Brown or
Yeah.
P-Funk.
Yeah.
That's hip hop right there.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ground floor.
Yeah. Yeah. It was something that we could have never dreamed up. It just started happening, you know. And then once we got to a certain place, it was like when you look back, it's like, wow, we didn't know that was gonna happen, the next thing you know, you just kept getting hit with, your songs being in new people's records, you
Yeah.
know, which we always thought that was a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
how they're using what we did to make theirs feel alive, and that was such a cool thing at the time, for us, but for most it wasn't such a cool thing. Yeah.
Let's get into bass gear because
Yeah.
your tone is impeccable. It's what a lot of people don't understand was for a long time, I feel like the actual bass guitar was a stepchild of the music instrument, meaning they were like, here's the P bass and here's a jazz bass. See you
Right.
later. That's what you
Yeah.
got. And it's Ampeg SVT.
Right.
Later on, Sun came out with some good stuff in the 70s.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
first start out, is it P bass or jazz bass and what amp?
it's for me it was the jazz bass
Got it.
with James Brown. Any of those pictures you see floating around, you'd probably see me with the jazz bass, and I'm holding it like it's an upright. You
Right.
know, yeah, yeah. I mean,
That's
I
how the
love,
50s guys played,
yeah, yeah.
always
Well,
up.
well, what it was you coming off of the era of upright bass,
Right.
and all us people that wanted to play bass, always had that upright, in their mind, because that was in everybody's mind playing the upright, And when you got the P bass or the jazz bass, it was like you played it like, it was an upright, even if you didn't think about it,
Yeah.
you automatically went there. And so, um, when I went there, I didn't think about it. It's like, this is where I'm going to hold it. 'Cause not only was it cool, it was just, you had the pictures in your mind about how upright bass players play.
Yeah.
And this is your way of giving back to the bass community, is playing the electric bass, like an upright bass,
Right.
And, a lot of upright bass players didn't like it. They didn't like the fact that it was changing over, just like we didn't like sampling, you
Right.
know. But you live and you learn how to either accept the new change or you don't. you know. And so I always wanted to think that I was always ready for a change. You know, when a change was coming, I wanted to be able to adapt, you know, and even though I keep my same thing that I'm doing, but, you know, whatever the change is, I try to go with it. And so far, it's worked pretty good, you know.
Let's get into it. You have a new single out that is fantastic. Is anybody out there? And I
Yeah.
just listened to it. It came out October 6th, and it is for a domestic violence awareness.
Yes.
Fantastic song. And
Thank
and I think your wife's involved with it also.
She's really she's a reason for that song being on the album and for her podcast that she's doing now. It's kind of the theme song. As a matter of fact, she's right here and she might want to.
Yeah, pop in there.
Yeah. So Bootsy wrote a song off of Album of the Year #1 Funketeer
Yeah.
called Anybody Out There. And, I knew that the song could really help me resonate and tell my story. So I asked him, could he take his vocal off and bring Myra Washington up, the female vocalist, on it? And he did. And so now we're doing a podcast called Is Anybody Out There? We're doing purple parties. We started here in Cincinnati, which represents domestic violence. So it's just all about telling stories, healing, and reaching out to one another. So yes, that's it.
That's beautiful. And
Yeah.
the podcast, is it out now?
Yes, it's on whatever platform that you listen to, it's there. But Podbean is where we downloaded everything. So
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's all there. It's all there. So it's a beautiful situation. And did you know that Mental Health came out too with Buckethead and
Yeah.
Bootsy and Jennifer Batten and
Victor Wooten.
Victor Wooten. On Friday, though, is when Jennifer Batten is featured.
Right.
It's going to be called Free Bucket. So it's another single for the Mental Health album. So we got a lot of music going on around here.
Yes.
Oh man, Buckethead's an old friend of mine. That guy is mind-boggling.
Yes, he is. Yes,
You ever
he is.
see him do the nunchucks?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Like what? The guy just comes out Bruce Lee with dualies.
I was with him when he was developing that back in 1991. You know,
Wow.
yeah, did his first record, his first album, Buckethead Land.
The
You know,
guy is unbelievable.
yes, yes,
I have
yes.
one last question, something I
Okay.
never knew. You played on one of the greatest records ever, Talk is Cheap, Keith Richards.
Oh yeah,
How
yeah.
did that happen? And did you record up at the site in Marin?
Yes, we did. Um, actually, Steve Jordan. You know,
Yes.
we had did a commercial, a Budweiser commercial, and he told me that uh, Keith Richards was doing his album Talk is Cheap, and would I be available to play on it? And I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they called me in, got me up there, and we set up, and they put the track on, and Keith was like, and Steve was like, yeah, give us some of that tiptoe funk. I was like, tiptoe funk, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Wow. Which
So
song was it?
uh, what was the name of it?
I'll
God,
find it.
dang on it. Yeah, yeah.
I'll find it.
Okay, cool,
Well,
cool.
thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you guys. And once again, thank you so much for doing the show. And
Oh, man.
a lifelong inspiration to me of just as far as always trying to be outside the box.
Yes, yes, agreed.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
Thank you so much, my man.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.